untap, upkeep, and welcome back to the channel if you've been here before, and if you haven't, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy this show today. So for today's show, as you can probably see from the screen you're actually viewing, we're going to talk about one of my pet decks, one of my favorite decks to play, but I don't bring it out too often until I give people a heads up, because it can go really fast, really hard. So for today, we're going to talk about Miirym, the Sentinel Wurm, and this is not going to be budget friendly. This is something I've been laboring on for a while, and if you don't know what Miirym does, let's dive into it. But before we do, please remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring that bell for notifications, show me some love, and if you already have, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please continue to share, get the word out, so we can hopefully get some other things going down the pipe for this channel. All the thoughts and everything have been said, so let's dive in. So this is Miirym, the Sentinel Wurm. She is a 3, a green, a blue, and a red 6/6 flying Ward 2 dragon. That already is a pain in the butt for people to deal with, but we're going to make it better. So whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token copy of it, except it isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. Yep, we do bad things here and we do not care. We actually are using a battle in this deck because it's so good. So this is the Invasion of Tarkir. So for 1 and a red, you can play this spell. And when Invasion of Tarkir enters the battlefield, reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. When you do, Invasion of Tarkir deals X damage to X damage plus 2 to any target, where X is the number of dragons revealed this way. X cannot be 0, it has to be 1. That's the minimum. So you can lightning bolt something. So I started off with this really quick instead of diving into details at Miirym because of this. The way that a battle works is it gets exiled and then it gets cast on its backside. And this is very important. Because if we beat this battle, we get this. The Defiant Thunderball. It is a 4/4 flying trample dragon. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. So, if you're not putting two together, if Miirym's out, we play this, and we flip it. When Miirym's out, it's going to come back, and we're going to get 2 copies of this bloody dragon. Which means every time our dragons attack, we can deal a total of 4 damage to all sorts of things. Probably somebody's face. And it only gets worse from there. It only gets worse. Just absolutely worse. There's only one dragon that can actually ramp us, and this is the Skilled Nurturer. It's a bigger Elvish Mystic or anything like that you would want, except for when you add this mana to cast a dragon creature spell, we get to gain 2 life. It's not bad. Our ramp package is predominantly artifacts and like some instance of sorceries. That's kind of how we're going to ramp. We have Sarkhan, Soul of Flame, to help lower the cost of our dragons just a little bit. My Miirym build, I don't believe in adding Dragon Spear Shaman or anything like that because in my experience they get blown up way too fast. I'd rather just ramp and have permanents on the battlefield such as actual lands. That's just a personal choice for me though. Sarkhan also has another ability is that whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you may have him become a copy of it until end of turn, except it still has his name and it's legendary in addition to each other types. So if like that battle came into play as the dragon on its backside after we've beaten the battle, Sarkhan can actually become a copy of it. If we haven't attacked yet, then we could do some serious damage. So moving on, we make a few tokens. We have a couple of token doublers. One of them we will go over later in the other part of the deck. We are running a creature version with Edrix and Niv twin casters. There are a blue, and a green for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard with Ward 2, which is why I put it in the deck. It's a little bit harder for people to kill it. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, create twice that many tokens instead. So in the case of Miirym, if we have Miirym out, the battle has been flipped, and this was out before the battle, we will get 2 copies of this dragon. So we would have 3 of them out. You can see where this is going to be nasty. We're running Ancient Copper and Ancient Silver dragons in the deck. If you haven't seen them before, you're going to. So Copper, whenever he deals damage to a player, will roll a d20, an actual random d20, not a spin dial. And we can create that many treasure tokens equal to the result. With Miirym out, we get extra copies of him. So I'm just going to reiterate so I don't have to keep saying it throughout this entire video. With Miirym out, we get double minimum of each dragon that we control. We have a couple of ways to multiply that, which gets it really fun. In the Ancient Silver Dragon, whenever he connects, we can roll a d20, draw cards equal to that number that we see. And then we have no max hand size for the rest of the game, so that's always pretty nice to mention. It's a lot of mana for it, but it's an 8/8 beat stick. Pretty sweet. Cavern Horde Dragon is another way that we can ramp out and do some damage. He has Flying, Trample, and Haste, and he costs X less to cast for X's the greatest number of artifacts an opponent controls. So if they have anything more than, I don't know, 3 or 4, we're very, very happy because we could drop our dragon here for pretty cheap and make 3 or 4 mana, so he's almost basically free. Because whenever he deals combat damage to a player, we make a treasure token for each artifact that player controls. Pretty sweet. The Goldspan Dragon allows us to attack and make a treasure. Whenever he becomes the target of a spell, we make a treasure. And our treasures will tap and sacrifice to add double the mana. Pretty nice. Dragonborn Champion allows us to draw cards whenever we deal 5 or more damage to a player. Ganax allows us to make treasures whenever him or another dragon enters the battlefield under our control. Of course, there's Terror of the Peaks, which, whenever a creature enters our battlefield, he's going to deal damage equal to that creature's power. Guess what? We're playing big dumb dragons, so it hurts a lot. Furcrag, Cunning Instigator. Just a nice little way to kind of deter some things that we don't want to come our way and draw some cards here and there. Nothing really special about him actually being in the list per se. Old Gnawbone. Old Gnawbone allows us to, again, make a whole bunch of treasures. This one, though, is not based on a die roll. This is whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we make that many treasures. So, for instance, if Furcrag hit while we had Old Gnaw, we would at least make 3 treasures. Not a bad trade. Another win condition for the deck, other than something like Terror of the Peaks, is the Scourge of Vulcus. So whenever him or another dragon enters the battlefield under our control, we are able to deal X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons we control. Miirym makes this way powerful and way dumb. We are also running Laughless. So whenever our dragon enters the battlefield under our control, if it's not a token, we make a 5/5 dragon token. The Fire Spitter Whelp is brand new from Foundations, and the minute I saw it, I was like, oh my god, yes. So it is a 3 mana 2/2 flying dragon that whenever you cast a non-creature spell or a dragon spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Oh, mwah. That means every time we cast if we cast this and Miirym's out, we're going to have 2 of them, and we can bolt things for just playing our deck. I mean, it's just beautiful in my opinion. I love everything about this. Earthquake Dragon is a ridiculously huge dragon that with Terror of the Peaks, you can deal 10 damage minimum without Miirym on the battlefield. With Miirym, it hurts a lot. He costs X to cast for X's total mana value of dragons you control. We are running dragons. Guess what? Dragons cost a whole bunch of mana generally, so it's not that hard to get him down to like 1 to 3 mana, give or take. And then we can always pay 2 a green, sack a land, and return it from our graveyard to our hand and do it again. And it's also a gigantic 10/10. I mean, this thing hits like a truck. The Dracuseth Maul of Flame. It's in Foundations. It's just another big fun dragon, but with Miirym out, you get 2 of them and you get double the triggers and you can just bathe the world in fire. It is so much fun. Emerith Desert Doom. He has Ward 4 as long as he's untapped, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. But if we have fewer than 3 cards in hand, we draw cards equal to that difference. Pretty nice dragon for some card draw. I mean, it's also a 5/5 body. This is a really fun hammer. Cloth Unraveled Ancient. He's a lot of mana for not a whole lot of power, except for whenever he attacks, add X mana of any combination of colors for X's total power of attacking creatures. Spend this mana only to cast spells. Until end of turn, you do not lose this mana as steps and phases end. That's a very important clause in this card, because traditionally, if you don't know, whenever you crack like how do I put this? So if you were to like tap a Soul Ring, but you only needed 1 of that colorless mana, and you were playing like Arcane Denial, for instance. So you had blue and Soul Ring open. Traditionally, after you've cast your Arcane Denial, let's say you were in the middle of combat, somebody was trying to protect themselves or whatever, so you tried to counter their spell. Traditionally, that other floating colorless mana from the Soul Ring would disappear into the Aether. But with Cloth, that doesn't happen. And the reason why that mana would actually disappear, though, before I go much further, is because as you go through steps and phases of your turn, it's a state-based action as part of Magic the Gathering that it just, poof, goes away. Cloth says, nah, I got you, fam. After combat, you can cast more things and just get really dumb. I like it. A surprise win condition is the Red Dragon. So when Red Dragon enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. With Miirym out, that is 2 triggers of it, so that's 8 damage, okay? Let's step it up a notch and add, of course, the big boogie card of this deck, the Roaming Throne. It has Ward 2, 4 mana for a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Roaming Throne is the chosen type in addition to its other types. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. So, as it's entering, you name Dragon. Miirym out, instead of seeing 1 Roaming Throne, it's going to say, hey, this is a dragon, so create a token copy of it. And then the Roaming Throne's ability will trigger and go, hey, by the way, make another copy of it. So then you have 3 Roaming Thrones. And then when you have something like the Red Dragon coming out, you're able to just do horrible things. Just horrible. So let's do the math. We have 3 Roaming Thrones. You play 1 Red Dragon. Miirym sees it and goes, hey, that's a non-token dragon. Let's make 1 token. Roaming Throne number 1 says, hey, Miirym triggered. Let's trigger it again. That's 2. Roaming Throne number 2 triggers. And then Roaming Throne number 4 triggers. Number 3 triggers, I'm sorry. Holding up 4 fingers, count 3. Go figure. Anyways, so then you get 4 more copies of the Red Dragon entering. That's a total of 20 damage to each opponent between all 5 Red Dragons. Except all 3 Roaming Thrones are going to trigger. So that's 60 points of damage. Ouch. It hurts. It might actually be more than that, because you got a Red Dragon entering dealing 4. And 1 Roaming Throne says, hey, let's do that again. So then that's 8. And then another one says, hey, let's do that again. That's 16. And then another, well, it's 12. And then 16. So yeah. And that'd be like 80, 60, 80 point. It's a stupid number of damage. It's one of my favorite little win conditions in this deck is to use these two in combination with Miirym. Because nobody expects to see the Red Dragon come out. We also run a couple of copiers, such as Spark Double and the Sakashima of the Thousand Faces. Both of them allow us to have him come into play as a copy of a creature. And in the case of Sakashima, the legendary rule does not apply to permanents we control. So it could come in as an exact copy of Miirym. It won't disappear, and then we'll get another Miirym that's non-legendary. And this is where things just snowball. Spark Double will become a additional 1/1 counter on it, and it won't be legendary, so it won't die to the legend rule, and it will get another Miirym copy. Just Wrathful Red Dragon is another little combo piece in the deck that if we have enough dragons and play this, we play one more card, we kill the whole table. Udvar Hellkite, just standard, you know, whenever you dragon you attack, you make you make a 6/6 dragon token. I mean, just pretty standard on that one. The Thunderbreak Regent allows it to deal 3 damage to a player whenever they target a dragon with a spell or ability that we control. And our final combo piece is the Astral Dragon. So when Astral Dragon enters the battlefield, we're going to create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent. Except they're 3/3 dragon creatures in addition to their other types, and they have flying. Very important that it says non-creature, because copying that Roman throne would be hilarious. God, that'd be a headache. So let's go through further into the deck and let's find out some of the other combo pieces that we are running and some of the other meats and potatoes of the deck. So we're going to run for our ramp package. We have Rampant Growth, Farseek, Cultivate, and 3 Visits, plus Nature's Lore. They allow us to kind of get our mana fixed a little bit. I run a little bit more basics in this build because I feel ramping hard, ramping fast is going to help this deck go and make things click for the deck. The Wrathful Red Dragon. This is the combo. So if you have, I think if I remember correctly, you have a minimum of 9 dragons on the battlefield, and one of them at the minimum is the Wrathful Red Dragon. You play Blasphemous Act, nobody stops you. You just kill the entire table thanks to the way the dragon works. So whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. So you just dealt 13 damage to 9 dragons. So, I mean, you do the math. 9 times 13. You have a 7, a 2, a 9, plus 2 is 117 points of damage that you can spread around the table. So, on average, later in the game, that should be more than enough to kill somebody. Hopefully, the other 3 players at that point. We are running a little bit more card draw with Ponder here. Just a pretty simple 1 blue mana, look at 3. We like them, put them back in a way we like them. If we don't, shuffle them and draw a card. Moving on to our instant package. We are running a very interesting sweep of instants, if I do say so myself. We have an Offer You Can't Refuse, a Counterspell, and a Fierce Guardianship to protect our board, as well as a Heroic Intervention to give our stuff hexproof and indestructible. We are running a Chaos Warp to shuffle away anything that could be a problem to us. We are running Cloth's Will as a way to board wipe anything that has not got flying, or destroy any number of target artifacts and enchantments that might be in our way. Nature's Claim is just a pretty standard 1 mana blow up an artifact or an enchantment. I don't care if you gain 4 life. I'm probably going to hurt you for a whole lot more than that. Return of the Wild Speaker, instant speed in case of a board wipe and we have no other way to protect. It does happen from time to time. We are only running 3 counterspells, so we're not like way overboard with power. We can make it better if we add like Force of Will, but I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. It's just a personal choice. So we're going to run Return of the Wild Speaker. So we can either make our dragons bigger by 3, or in the like I was trying to say, in the case of a board wipe, we can instant speed, hopefully draw some more cards. Cyclonic Rift. Everybody knows what Rift is. If you don't know, then you can just pay 2 mana and bounce a single permanent back to somebody's hand. Or you can pay 6 and a 7, and everybody but you has to bounce all their permanents back to their hand. Yeah, yeah. We are also going to run crop rotation because there are certain lands that we need to go get, and this can immediately go get them and make us some very, very happy people. Finally, we have Sarkhan's Triumph. Don't get to see what dragon we're getting, so it's okay, but it's instant speed, go tutor a dragon, and be ready to deal some damage. Our artifact package is pretty ridiculous as well. We have the Great Henge, a Lotus Petal, a Dragon's Hoard, a Cursed Mirror, Orb of Dragonkind, a Soul Ring, Mox Opal, Chrome Mox, Mana Vault, and Arcane Signet. The Cursed Mirror is a wham bam combo with the Ancestral Dragon because the dragon tokens come into play and they become copies of a Cursed Mirror, and Cursed Mirror says it can come into play as a copy of anything, so then they become copies of so the Cursed Mirror comes into play and it becomes a copy of Ancestral Dragon, and just there's your loop. It's really, really wild. Dragon's Hoard, just a nice way to draw cards. As we play dragons, we get counters on it, and we can use it to draw cards. Orb of Dragonkind helps us ramp with our dragons, and we can even dig for dragons if we need to. I mean, the One Ring, card draw. Protection, card draw, I mean, that's pretty explanatory, as well as Party Tree, giving us more card draw. Herald's Horn, I might actually take this out. I haven't decided yet. But you choose a creature type, it makes things one less of that type, and then if we flip over a dragon, for instance, then we're able to just put it in our hand, not draw. So that is a very important distinction. There are some cards that specifically care about when you draw, so this actually gets around that because it says put, not draw. Moving on down our list, let's start with some more shenanigans, shall we, with the enchantments. So we have a couple of ways to give haste with Miirym Ascendancy, Rhythm of the Wild. We can either give our non-token creatures haste, or give them a 1/1 counter. More importantly, creature spells you control cannot be countered. The Miirym Ascendancy, again, everything will have haste, and then whenever a creature power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under our control, we may draw a card. Don't have to, but we can. And that's important because we don't have a whole lot of ways to blow up our own enchantments, so we don't deck ourselves. Parallel Lives. What more needs to be said? It's another token doubler, and it is really dumb in this deck. If we would make one token, we make double that instead. So combine that with Edrex and If, we would quadruple it. Really, really dumb. Kindred Discovery. It's going to come into play. We're going to choose Dragon, of course, and then whenever a dragon enters the battlefield or attacks, we're able to draw more cards. Again, we've got to be careful with this. Excuse me. This is a very good way to deck yourself. Garruk's Uprising. Again, more card draw. It gives our dragons trample in case we run into anything else that has flying, like a 2/2 Drake that potentially can stop our dragons. Well, we're just going to ram right through it anyway. We don't care. Another pretty fun win condition is the Dragon Tempest. It gives creatures we control with flying when they enter the battlefield under our control, and more importantly, whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control. I see. And finally, we are running up the Beanstalk. As it comes into play, we get to draw a card. And then whenever we cast a spell with a mana value 5 or greater, we will draw another card. Guess what? We are loaded with cards that are 5 and bigger. We're going to draw a lot of cards here, guys. Our lands are pretty stacked, I'd like to say. We're running the Cavern of Souls, an ancient tomb. The uh, surveil lands are in here. I have a few fetch lands in here. A reflecting pool. We're running the Triumph. The shock lands are in here. The battle bond lands are in here. I mean, this is a pretty stacked mana base, if I do say so myself. Are running Bondo's Enclave because it is another way to draw cards if we have to. Keep mana open for counter spells or whatever, and then if nothing happens, we just move on and go, okay, cool. Let's just draw some cards here. So as you can see, our mana base is pretty well stacked. And we are running 4 of each kind of basic to make sure we can always hit our land drops. We are running only 33 land, and I'm thinking about upping that just a little bit as we speak. More than likely not. I actually need to update this list so that it more reflects the one I actually sit down and use, and it's a lot of fun to use. So this is a no-go, no land. I can keep that. I'll do a quick play run and let's see what happens. So if we kept that hand, we could play this. Reflecting Pool doesn't do us any good right now, so we would have to play the Breeding Pool, take some damage, and play a Soul Ring. Then we can play this Island, play this Parallel Lives and pass, play the Enclave, and now we're stuck. We don't have red mana. Yeah, we are. Wow, we would be dumpstered. Wow. That's a bummer. So let's do another game. I don't like that hand. We are going nowhere. This hand is a little bit better. I like the ramp package that we have here. So, draw, play this, draw, play that. So now we can definitely make our mana of any color we want. So we'll eat this. Let's go find. You know what? Let's grab this. And let's shuffle. Let that come into play. What's our top card? Earthquake Dragon. Yeah, we'll keep him on top because it's a big dumb dragon. So we can play this. I normally like to play this later, but let's go ahead and get it out. Play another Montana. And just like that, a turn for Miirym. Miirym should survive because not a lot of things can deal with her, being that she has the ward. So go view our library. We want. Wish we could grab the cavern, but we can't. I don't want to get it camp land. Grab our breeding pool. Put it into play. Give a good shuffle. Take some damage. It'll be okay. Let's play this. And let's just pass. And we have heroic intervention if we really feel that we need to protect ourselves. If nothing happened, we could play that. Play that. We can go ahead and cast this. We get a token copy. So 5 plus 6 is 11. And then plus 2 more is 13. So almost a 1-drop for a 10/10 that we're going to get double the tokens and we're going to deal a buttload of damage. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3. So we're open to any kind of board wipe, but that's okay. Play that, pass. Let's say how to protect our board. Could use this to draw some cards. And there you have it. We're going down. So as you can see, I need to go through and update this list a little bit, but I haven't done it in 3 months. So as you can see, this is my Miirym the Sentinel Wurm. I like to call it version 4. I have been refining this over and over and over again because it is one of my favorite dragons to play. I love being able to make token copies of these dragons, and I love being able to just slam big dumb things on the battlefield. I guess that's I'm that Timmy player that's like big dumb dragon do dumb things. Yeah. Oh crap! It died. How do I get it back? I like playing like that, and I like playing with a lot of firepower, but I also like doing big dumb splashy things. I just think it's fun. That's just the way I like to have fun. Using the new bracket system that they have here, though, Moxfield, again, not an affiliate, not a sponsor, maybe one day. They rank this as a Power 4, which I would probably hold as pretty true. I often would say this was like uh, back when we would describe them with a number from 1 through 10, I would say it was definitely a strong 7, possibly a strong 8. So probably 7.5 to maybe 8, 8.5. And I would sit down and I would talk to people about this before I busted out Miirym. I would say bring some good heat because my Miirym can be pretty quick, and we would have good games. Sometimes I would just steamroll the table because I built the deck to be fast, or I would just kind of stumble a little bit, being stuck on mana for like the one hand we did where we had a Soul Ring, we had green, blue, we were doing okay, but we never got a red mana. Go figure. That's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. So with that said, I always sat down and was honest with people about the deck, and everybody knows Miirym is really powerful anyway. She just slaps. My God, this dragon just slaps. Um, One time at our local game store, shout out to Green Brothers, they were doing an arch enemy tournament style, which was really fun to go to. The arch enemy did not stop me from really going. He could have, but he wasn't trying to be that mean. Mainly because my partners were playing precons or slightly upgraded precons, while me and him were playing two fully customized built decks. So I think he felt a little bad that I'm stuck with a couple of good players, but they're using precons against a non-precon arch enemy deck. So I had to do quite a bit of the damage myself. Ended up winning that game thanks to, unfortunately, one of our partners having to sacrifice himself to unlock the board for me and the other guy, and we managed to win our game. And Miirym was the deck I was using. So it was a lot of fun to do that, and I don't know, maybe I'll make Miirym my arch enemy deck if I ever get to become the arch enemy at my game store. They tend to rotate it around, and it's pretty cool. That would be pretty fun, in my opinion, to be able to be the arch enemy and boo, here's my Miirym deck. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like my Miirym build? Is there something you do differently with your Miirym build, or do you not even have one? Hey, come at me, man. We'll make a budget version of it, and I bet you it'll still slap face. It might be heavy clone tribal, but I can make it happen. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's a different way you build Miirym or you want to build Miirym. So like, share, comment, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. Stay tuned. We hopefully will be continuing to develop the channel and hopefully get some other things going. Um, I have been your one and only Buddha Dragon. So remember, rub that belly for mana, and may your games bring you luck. Till then, peace out.